So,
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our monthly leadership webinar, our Limitless Leadership Webinar. We meet every third Tuesday or Wednesday or so, depending on what schedules are looking like. And we talk about something that is provocative and relevant for leaders, particularly based on the theme that I may be covering in a given month. Every month, my posts that you would see cover a particular theme based on leadership. And this month is no different. I am very excited to have Johnathan Albury joining me today, tonight, wherever you may be. And I'm really, really excited about this conversation because Johnathan is someone who focuses on visibility as his job in many different aspects. And he also, helps to promote other persons to be visible. This is really a part of what he does. And so it's so amazing how things happen. We just ended up being at an event and I got this spark like, ooh, I think he should be our next presenter. And so I rushed up on him and said, hey, would you join me this month? And so I'm very happy that you said yes. With anyone who knows me, I can be a bit spontaneous, but we like to call it going with the spirit. I go as I am led. So welcome, Johnathan.
awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And it was no issue of mine. I'm grateful for any opportunity to be able to speak on something I'm so passionate about.
Yes, so I'm going to share your bio for our guest tonight, and then we'll jump right in.
Hmm.
So, Johnathan Albury is a sales consultant and an entrepreneur based in Nassau, Bahamas. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in Communications from Lancaster Bible College and is pursuing an MBA with a concentration in finance. With expertise in digital marketing, video production, and content strategy, he serves as a sales consultant at Machinery and Energy Limited, M&E, the authorized Caterpillar dealership for the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, and Cayman Islands, and is the founder and creative director of Creative Growth Digital Marketing Agency, an active member of Toastmasters Club 1600, the infamous, I might add, where he currently serves as club treasurer for the 2026-2027 term. Johnathan is committed to business growth, community development, and establishing himself as a creative and commercial leader across the Caribbean. So, once again, I say welcome to you. And I want to just start by you telling us a little bit about your background, your training in communications, and how that has led you into doing what you're doing now.
Awesome stuff, awesome stuff. So I'll take you all the way back to my Kingsway days. Surprisingly, I was a very introverted child. I didn't really have much of a voice, so to speak. And with that, I picked up the sport of basketball. That was my first love, my first passion, and that kind of gave me my newfound voice. It gave me my sense of confidence. And from there, I was blessed to be able to obtain a scholarship to play high school basketball and then collegiate basketball in the States at Clarkson University. And at that time, as most friends, college friends think, we're hilarious. We should record ourselves. We should vlog. And from there, those little small vlogs turned into what would be a new passion of mine, videography. And from my videography, it turned into actually being a business of mine. At first, it was called Blast Cinema. That was my business in the States. And as I moved back home, I shifted the name. I started over, and now that's what led to Creative Growth Digital Marketing Agency. But in terms of my skill set, I am a forum believer and I am a proud graduate of YouTube University. All of my skill sets I pretty much learned through YouTube videos, on the fly, on job sites, on commercial sites, learning from actual professionals. And that's where most of my training came from. Like you said, my bachelor's in communications, but I give most of my knowledge to actually YouTube University and doing things on the job site.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And there's so many lessons in that, right? And you don't
Yes.
have to be limited in any way that we
Hmm.
can, opportunities will find us. We just have to grab it. And I believe that that is really the core of this whole thing about visibility.
Yes.
And I landed on this topic because actually in the month of March, is celebrated as International Women's Day. And as
Yes.
I did a couple of presentations around and other things, I do training and whatnot for companies. And I found that that seemed to be bubbling to the surface quite a bit
Hmm.
with people who are very uncomfortable
Agreed.
about being seen.
Hmm.
And it creates this conundrum, for want of a better word, right?
Hmm.
Because you have people, professionals, who don't really want to be seen, but then they want to be seen, if that
Yes.
makes sense,
Yes.
right? Like
100%.
they don't want to be seen. Let me put it this way, but they want to be noticed.
Yes.
And you can't be noticed without being seen.
Definitely.
So I'm going to share a poll. I want to see from our audience, how do you really feel about being seen professionally? And I know this is something that even for me, you talked about being an introvert, and I
Hmm.
would describe myself as an ambivert, right? So I have
I,
extrovert tendencies and I'm doing things like this. I can
but
be
you're also
extroverted, but
introverted when you need to be. Yep.
right.
You're blessed.
But it still hinders me in a way because I don't feel like I'm very comfortable behind the camera. I'm very
Hmm.
comfortable doing video, but like things like going live,
Yeah.
things like doing the behind the scenes, things like posting every single thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like we had an event the other day. I don't know if you went to it, the conference that the Office of the Prime Minister hosted for creatives.
I was supposed to, but I wasn't able to make it.
Oh my gosh. Well, it was a great event, but
Okay.
what was interesting to me, right, when you had a room full of influencers,
Hmm.
is you watch them coming in and they have their camera person and
Yes.
they're following them as they go to
Hmm.
their seat and they're filming everything. And I'm looking at this like, oh, is this what it means to be an influencer? I don't know. Right. And I think that that's where this whole thing about being seen comes in. So, what does it mean to you from a professional and a leadership
Yes.
perspective, being seen?
Being seen. Thank you for the question. When it comes to being seen, I go back to being useful. I like to say that everyone has a hidden skill set, a talent, and until you're able to make that talent well known to the people around you, you're not being seen. So I'll give an example of someone who's an awesome baker. Man, you in your house, banana bread, apple pie, but to you, you're the only one who can make use of that skill set, that talent. It isn't until other people can readily call upon and say, "Hey, Simone makes a great apple pie. Let me call Simone and ask if she can make me apple pie." Is where you truly begin to become seen as where your talent, your skill set is of use to those in the community around you. So that to me, that's what being seen means.
Yeah, people need to know
Yes.
what you can do. I was actually just sharing with a friend of mine. We were talking about it. Like we are always doing things, but
Hmm.
we're terrible at marketing. So we probably need to engage you. We probably have to talk after
Yes,
because we
let
were
me know.
talking about that.
Let me
But
know.
it seems like it's difficult to promote. Why do you think that is? Is this like a cultural thing? Uh,
Yes,
you know,
I wouldn't just stop at saying it's a cultural thing. I think it's just a mindset. No one likes to be judged. No one likes to be told they're doing something right, wrong. No one likes to be critiqued. So I think that most people, when it comes to being seen, is kind of a off-putting thing because like you said, most professionals want that leadership position, but I don't want the people to see me. So it's kind of you're stuck in this catch-22 of for you to get visibility, it's in the term you have to be visible. And fortunately, with visibility comes a lot of critiques and adjustments. So I would say that's where most people tend to be put off by it because there's that fear of, well, what if people say something about me? What if people say something to me? And my response has always been, people are going to talk about you regardless. So you might as well be visible.
It's true, and I think that that is a lot of the fear that people
Yes.
have is of being criticized, being shamed,
Hmm.
being told maybe that you're not good enough. There's a someone that I follow on TikTok. He talks about conflict resolution. I mean, he's amazing. As people with if they see my WhatsApp, I'm typically sharing his videos because I really love his content. And he shared in one of his videos how someone was, I guess, didn't like what he was saying, and they wrote comments about his nose,
Yes.
right? But obviously, he's been doing this thing for so long that that didn't bother him.
Yeah.
But for someone else, that may be crushing. That may say to someone, I'm not going back out there. If people are going to say, I have a big nose, or I don't look right, or I don't fit the
Mhm.
bill, I don't, how do you help us to deal with handling the criticism that comes with putting yourself out there?
Well, my first recommendation, my first step would be to set a goal. What is your goal of wanting to be visible? Some people they want a promotion. They want to be recognized for a promotion. Some people, business owners, they want their product, their service to be out there. Some people they just want to be known that they have this certain skills to their talent. And once you set that goal to say, well, I want to achieve that new promotion, now you have that foundation to say that, okay, well, any feedback that doesn't tie into me achieving my goal is just noise. Because with all the blessings of the internet, we also have to talk about the cons, love, noise, and distractions. And you have to be mindful as you're becoming visible that you don't want the noise to pull you away from what your actual goal was. Because I'll share I used to have a fitness page and same thing, posting my fitness content and guys were there on my leaving comments saying, oh well, yeah, skinny legs. But
Oh,
the reason my goal for making this fitness page was to simply share my fitness content. It wasn't to be a bodybuilder, it wasn't to seek any critiques. So those critiques kind of just rolled off my shoulder because I was able to go back to my goal and say, well, that doesn't relate to what I'm trying to achieve.
yeah, that's
Hmm.
good. I think it has to do a lot with mindset, right? Like what
Yes.
what does it take to prepare yourself, to
Hmm.
put yourself forward? We're not just talking about being online yet. We're going to talk about the digital footprint, but we're just talking about putting yourself forward in a professional setting. So for some people, we see um, people may be wanting a promotion.
Hmm.
People may want to do something different. They maybe want to make a transition. You know, how do you put yourself forward without feeling like I'm being pushy? That's how some people feel, like
Hmm.
I'm promoting myself. Um, People are going to be turned off by that. I'm maybe, my work should speak for me. People would say that a lot.
My
Like
work
I
should
feel
speak for
like,
me.
I'm working hard. My work should speak for me. You should see that I'm coming to work. I'm doing what I'm supposed
Yeah.
to do. I'm getting it done. I'm meeting the deadline. That should make me noticeable. Why
Yes,
is that not enough?
it's not enough because it only tells one half of the story. I'm a former athlete, so trust me, I've heard the hard work, hustle. You gotta get there early in the morning. You can't leave until late at night. But an important part that we all miss out on is that if no one sees the hard work, it's not all for nothing. But if you're counting on people to see your hard work and no one is there to witness the hard work, it kind of falls on deaf ears. And with most professionals who have that mindset of the work should speak for itself. Why do I have to make myself visible? Well, when you're in a room with five other people, and they're all working hard, who do I promote? Who do I put to the top of the forefront? So you have to be able to make yourself visible in order to get those promotions, to be able to achieve those leads, because the hard work is a good foundational step. You can't, if you don't work hard, the other equation of being visible kind of falls apart. But if you work hard and you're not visible, no one can see you to notice your service and that you're a help, they're able to take you to that next level.
Someone may argue, well, my boss should be able to see that. I shouldn't have to tell
Mhm.
my boss that. You should be able to see from my work that I am ready for the next level. What is wrong with that
Mhm.
kind of thinking?
It leaves things, it leaves too many things out of your control. When you are counting on someone else to give you your promotion, oh, well, once I do the work, that's it. Not quite. I'm a type of person where I like to know that I have all my bases covered. So in most cases, I've seen the boss has a boss. And it could be something of where, let's say, your boss just doesn't take to you. But if you're making yourself visible in your job site, the boss of your boss is like, well, what about that Aubrey kid? I've seen that he's been doing a lot, and I've seen that he's been now. It puts people in the rough spot, like, well, Aubrey, yeah, but Aubrey's been doing the work. I've seen him do the work. Let's bring him up to a manager position. And I'm oversimplifying, obviously, the promotion. I'm not an HR manager. I know that promotions work, but visibility solely relying on I'm just gonna do the work, it makes it really difficult because it could be in a situation of, like I said, five people in the same room, everyone is just doing the work. Now
Mhm.
your boss is stuck. I got one promotion, one job role. All five of these guys are doing the work. Who sticks out? The person
Yeah,
who made themselves the most visible. Yeah.
yeah. And oftentimes we get frustrated because the person that may make themselves visible aren't always the most competent,
Yes.
right? They may not be that best person, but
Yeah.
they're putting themselves out there. They're
Yes.
putting themselves in areas to be seen
Yes.
by the people who need to see them. The other challenge with thinking that way is that you're assuming that your boss thinks hard work equals a desire for more.
Yes.
And that's a challenge, right? Because oftentimes when you are really working in that area, unless you have the type of boss who's really going to look and maybe even come and ask you, what do you want to do with yourself? What are your career goals or something of the sort?
Yes.
If you have that type of boss, then you're doing great.
Mhm.
But if not, they're just going to think you are happy doing what you're doing.
Doing. Yes.
So, people, like you said, you're leaving too much outside of your control by assuming that people
Mhm.
are thinking of your future and your best interest and
Mhm.
that they know what you're thinking and they
Yeah.
know what you want. So unless you say something, so being visible isn't always about, um, hosting the Christmas party or something along those lines, right? Or doing a presentation. It isn't always that. It
Mhm.
may just be up,
Yeah.
speaking up and being a self advocate,
Yes.
right? And saying, this is what I want, this is where I see myself. As we say in the Bahamas, closed mouths don't get
Get
fed.
fed. Don't get fed. Yes.
Squeaky doors get the oil.
Yeah.
So unless you say something, people may
Mhm.
not know. So you may see this poll on the screen, and one of the biggest visibility challenges at work is not
Mhm.
speaking up for yourself or not speaking up in meetings so people can
Yeah.
hear your value.
Yeah.
The first time that happened to me was when I was in my graduate studies.
Mhm.
And I felt very intimidated in the class. It was a very small cohort, maybe only 10 of us. This was in Rochester, New York, at Rochester Institute of Technology,
Nice.
studying human resource development. And I felt very intimidated. I kid you not,
Mhm.
because I was making a transition to HR. This was an aspiration. So I was really coming. to that cohort as a teacher and
Oh, wow.
also working in youth development.
Hmm.
And so I felt very intimidated by the class being there.
Hmm.
And there was a particular class where the instructor asked a question and nobody was answering this question. And I just kind of blurted it out under my breath, but it was apparently loud enough for her to
Right.
hear me. And it was the right answer.
Hmm.
And she came to me during the break and she said, you know, you really need to speak up more. I
Yeah.
think you have a lot to offer. And it that liberated me. And for the rest of the cohort, I was like the person who would speak for the group
Yes.
and this
Me
and
too.
that. And I just kind of got all my juices flowing. So
Became a
talk
leader.
to us a little bit about that, about speaking up. And you're a Toastmaster, so
Yes, you're right. You're right in my field. Yes, I would
exactly.
say that the most important skill set when it comes to visibility, I speak to introverted persons, I speak to shy people all the time, and they ask me, well, how can I become visible but not speak up? I say, oh, buddy, it's gonna be rough. It's it's no, right, it's one of the easiest tools to develop in order to push yourself to the front of leadership. I recently gave a speech and I asked the question to the audience. I said, would you rather lie dead in the casket or give the eulogy? And most people were like, probably, probably lie dead. And the
Wow.
reason for that, yeah, the reason for that is that the top, I think is if it's not the first, it's top three. Fear in the world is called glossophobia, the fear of public speaking. So you'll find that most professionals that same feeling that you had of I don't want to speak up because I don't want people to notice me is something where it's a crucial leadership skill because once you're able to build that skill set of, hey, regardless of if this is the wrong answer, regardless of what will be said about or of me, I'm gonna put my hand up and I'm gonna say the answer to the question is this. Because that's something that most people haven't developed, and that definitely being seen doesn't get much easier than that. You want to be seen, be one of the only people to raise their hand and speak their opinion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What tips could you give for people who may feel like how I felt? You're
Yeah.
sitting in a room, you know the answer, but you're intimidated to raise your hand. Or maybe once I raise my hand, I feel like I'm
Hmm.
not a good speaker, right? That I'm not going to say it the way I'm hearing it in my head. I may
Yes.
stutter or stumble or use the wrong words, you know. And of
Sure.
course, you know, when you go into groups like Toastmasters, you get checked for things like that. You know, oh, you
Yes.
didn't put that word in the right place or you didn't use that in the right context. So all of that kind of makes you nervous, right?
Yeah.
So what tips would you give to someone who may say, well, I am not the best speaker.
Well, the
Do
first
I,
one as a proud product of the Toastmaster Club 1600 program, it would be to join Toastmasters Club. The best Toastmasters, the best way, the best platform, the best lab experience to be able to have those moments of fail, but still have to speak. And as you see, after you give your fifth speech, you're just naturally more likely to say your opinions. But outside of that, I would tell anyone practice outside the office. That feeling of fear we have when we're about to say something, we get nervous. That feeling doesn't just stay in that one moment. It carries over to the boardroom. It carries over to important conversations. That feeling of fear, it takes itself over into the rest of your life. And I would say if you're having any conversation, whether it be with a friend, sibling, and you feel that moment of fear, if you're able to practice then, or practice in those small moments to speak even though you're afraid, the carryover will eventually make itself to the boardroom. So if the boardroom is your top nervousness, you want to take yourself outside the boardroom. It could be where you go to the coffee shop and or Starbucks and the person has the name tag and you get so afraid of saying the person's name, you can just nervously say, "Thank you, Sharon, for my coffee." For some people, that's nerve-wracked, like they get really scared of saying the person's name. But most people, especially Starbucks employees, they'll do a little look of, oh yeah, my name tag is there. So that's always something where you want to be for those bigger moments. start outside the boredom, start outside of your job, find those little small moments where you get afraid and practice there, and eventually that skill set will carry you over eventually to the boardroom.
That's some really good advice. I think even adding to using their name is making eye contact,
Heavy, yes.
right? How important is eye contact to exhibiting confidence and just uh, the level of expertise that you have?
Oh, it's massive. Eye contact is one of those, once again, speaking about Toastmasters, eye contact is one of those big topics we try to introduce new speakers to very early on, because we've all had conversations with individuals and they're looking off into the distance and they're avoiding eye contact. And this is not a confident person. This demeanor is not confident. We're having a face-to-face conversation. My eyes are wandering, my head is down, and once you're able to look a person in the eyes, you give them their full attention. Now you're presenting in a different light. You're presenting as a visible person, like you want to be seen.
That's a good one. I think sometimes people get uncomfortable. And this is why I asked the question about culture,
Mhm.
because I believe we are impacted by some of the things that we've been taught.
Yes.
And I know we have a couple of people here from other parts of the world. I see my friend here, Cecile, who is from Barbados in
Mhm.
Jamaica, and Chidi, who is in Africa.
Yes.
And I know we have similarities in culture, but I know for us, we are taught in the Bahamas, in some ways, not to give eye contact. That
Mm.
looking in someone's eyes is considered rude almost, especially as a
Disrespectful.
child,
Yeah.
right? That you're supposed to, which in Asian cultures is actually a sign of respect,
Yes.
that you
You
put
bow,
your
yeah,
head
yeah. Bow your
down,
head. Yes.
right? Out of honor.
Mhm.
uh, and also that you should speak when you're spoken to. I don't know how
Mhm.
many people have heard that before, right?
Yeah.
Speak when you're spoken to. In fact, I was at an event the other day, a function that
Mhm.
was a mixed function for adults and children.
Mhm.
And in the setting, one of the friends of a guest of mine
Mhm.
came to the area where we were. This was like a beach event. And the kids were, running around and coming in and out. And she told the child of her friend that she came with, who came into the space,
Mhm.
get out of here, get out of here. And we were looking at her like, what's going on? Why is she chasing the child away from us? She
Mhm.
said, well, whenever adults are talking, children can't be around. They can't be around. Get out of here. And so the child's mom said, well, no, we don't operate that way. The child
Mhm.
can be here. We
Mhm.
just need to watch what we
You
say
say, yeah.
in front of the child, right? If you want to have
Right.
an adult conversation, then you do it in a setting where children are not.
Not allowed, allowed, yeah.
But to chase the child away, but all of
Mhm.
these things I think play with our psyche,
Psychology, yes. Heavy.
right? As we grow and we develop, and even in sometimes spiritual settings, when we are taught to, put others first and let
Mhm.
others speak of you highly and not you. And these types of things, I think, can be barriers to us putting ourselves forward. What are your
Yes.
thoughts on that?
Yes, I think, yeah, like the way you're raised, what's the saying, nature versus nurture? I think that both play a crucial role, but definitely the way you're raised heavily impacts how you handle your adult life. In that situation, as a child, it's kind of off-putting because it gives you the impression that you can't give your feedback when seniority is in the room. And I had a similar upbringing of where same rules when adults speak and you ain't supposed to be there. Oh, but once you touch 18, now we can start bringing you around. But it's definitely something where it can be a hindrance, but my biggest thing that I had to overcome, because at one point I thought that because I was raised that way, I couldn't become more of a speaker, more of a leader. And that I told myself that was a lie because these are skill sets that can be trained. And just how you were trained to do something as a child doesn't mean that you stuck for the rest of your life. You can still use tools, platforms, programs to help you develop that skill set and that mindset of, hey, you're in the room, you're an adult now, you can speak up and share your opinion.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that what compounds it in the workplace is sometimes when you are younger and you have
Yes.
adults and they treat you that way. When they say, well,
Yeah.
hey, I don't want to
Oh
hear
yeah.
from you. You don't have anything to
Oh
contribute.
yeah.
You're a kid, you still have milk on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people will say those things to you, or they will imply them, even in
Hmm.
the way that they handle you non-verbally can be
Yeah.
very dismissive. How do you help persons who are listening, who are here tonight, who may deal with that? And maybe it may be age, and
Hmm.
it happens in many ways, right? You could be
Yeah.
younger, you could be older and be dismissed,
Yes.
right? You also have the gender differences. You could be a female in
Hmm.
a room that they don't want to hear from you,
Yeah.
right? Or you could be a male in a room, they don't want
Hmm.
to hear from you, right? What could we do to overcome these
Hmm.
sometimes visible or sometimes invisible barriers
Yes.
to communicating and being visible?
Yes. Corporate politics, like to call it. The first step is to recognize it. I had a similar issue with a coworker. Same thing. I'm a younger guy. I'm only 27, and she was mid 30s, and she tried to impose her thoughts, her way of doing business on me. And at first, I wasn't recognizing it because I was so focused on the work that needed to be done. I brushed it off. But it wasn't until a coworker pulled me aside and said, "Hey, look, this is what she's doing. This isn't right. Let her know." And for anyone in the room that is going through a situation like that, I think the first important step is to make sure that you know what's going on. You can recognize it, and then from there, you can. I'm big on communication right now. So if a situation like that, pull the person to the side. Hey, I know that you feel this way, but that's not professional. That's not how we want to do it. I'm a little bit more polished and soft spoken. Some people in this call may be a little more front facing and aggressive. You may have more aggressive terms you want to use. Whatever gets the point across. But you definitely want to be able to pull that coworker to the side and say, hey, look, regardless of age, gender, ethnicity, we're both here at this office. We both got hired to do a job. And when asked to speak up and give my opinion, I plan to do so. And if that doesn't work, then you have to take it to your higher ups and then, make sure things are straightened out. But definitely a situation like that, I'm heavily on communication because some people, like we said earlier, that's just how they're raised. You don't know any better. So until
Right.
you pull them to the side and say, hey, look, and most of the times this is what happens. Pull them to the side. Hey, look, you did this. I took it like that. What's that about? Oh, no, I didn't mean it like that. I just wanted to, get the job done. I want to, okay, that's no problem. But just so you know, going forward, let's not do that again. So
Mhm.
just being willing to have those uncomfortable conversations and set the hard boundaries to say, hey, look, we're not going to do that. Not here.
So I have two devil's advocate questions to follow
Oh
up on
boy. Yes.
that.
Yes.
One is, what if it's your boss? What if it is your higher up that's doing this to you?
Mm,
You still have that same conversation.
yes. You start with yes, because it is draining, especially nowadays with everything going on, and then the cost of living is so high, and then to drag yourself, the biggest drain on any person's day is to drag yourself into an environment where you're being belittled by someone who is your higher up. And I think it's something where even if it's your boss, the conversation still has to be had to say, hey, look, you bought me, you interviewed me, you HR was in the room, you interviewed me, you brought me on for this role. I am a professional. You are paying me to do a job. I can do this job. I am going to give my feedback and opinion. And if that's something that affects you, that's just how it's going to be. Now, I understand that it may come with backlash, but you don't want to be in a situation where you're demoralized or you're being talked down to. That's not, I understand paying bills, but that's no way to go forth. Because after years and years, that takes a huge strain and toll. And then I'm thinking about mental health and stress and those bills, some health bills you're gonna pay from working to your job. You don't want to get caught in that cycle of you go to work stressed out, you take the bills, you take the money from your job to pay bills to help you not get stressed. It's a terrible cycle.
It is. And
Yeah.
that leads me to my next devil's advocate question.
Hmm.
What if speaking up costs me a price that I wasn't prepared to pay? And that could be now I'm blackballed, I'm blacklisted, I'm
Yes.
labeled as this negative person, or this person now challenged this
Yeah.
power. And now they look at me in a negative way, or they targeted me. Maybe they're
Yeah.
trying to push me out of the organization. Maybe I
Yeah.
get fired. They take the next layoff exercise. My name is there
Yeah.
because I speak up.
Yeah. And
How
that's
do you
the
deal with that?
and visibility along with the process counts. When you're visible, you're visible. We can see you. So definitely in situations like that, I can't speak to every situation because every situation is unique. But as a professional, you have to play it by ear. I'll never stand and agree with anybody saying that, well, I'm just gonna sit in the corner because I don't want to get fired. But then you come to work and you're not performing your best and you go 2 years, 3 years, 5 years in a job that's draining your life away. I'll never subscribe to anyone doing that. But as a professional, once again, corporate politics, you have to see the lay of the land. You have to see what your options are. But if you have the opportunity to speak out and let your thoughts be known and to draw those boundaries and say, hey, look, I'm not going to stand for this, I recommend drawing that boundary. Because once those boundaries are drawn, now all of us know the boundary is here. If you cross that boundary, now things can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm painting a very dark picture because that's the worst
Yes.
case scenario.
But it
But
happens.
best case scenario is that you establish a boundary,
Mhm.
people know it, people respect it, and you feel good. You feel good knowing that I stood up for myself. I presented a value. I presented something that was important to me. I presented an
Yeah.
idea that was important to me, and it was listened to and maybe was even accepted, maybe was implemented. How would you know if you don't put
Yeah.
yourself forward?
Yes.
It's only one or two answers you get out.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I want to spend the remaining part of our time on the digital footprint, this
Yes.
aspect of your life where you are putting people out there, their businesses, their professional brands, their personal brands. You're getting them out there online. Why does this matter? Someone may be on this webinar saying, well, I don't want to be an influencer. I don't want to be a personality. I don't want to be a celebrity. I
Mhm.
just want to do my job, get paid what I'm deserving, get
Mhm.
opportunities that I deserve. Why does a professional need a digital footprint?
Yes, we all know the saying that the first impression makes a huge difference. Now I want you to understand that your first impression is no longer just physical. Your first impression is now digital. Simone, you're an HR professional. I'm sure you've used LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube to research individuals.
Mm-hmm.
There are some females I see in the chat. I'm sure you guys have used Facebook to look up a guy's profile to see, well, what is he? Is he making sense?
You've
So
done
if
it
we
for a
all,
friend.
yeah, exactly. I'm looking for a friend. So if we all can agree to that, we can understand the value and importance that your digital presence makes a huge difference because I understand that not everybody wants to be an influencer or not everybody is a business owner trying to push a product. However, if I told you that your next boss, your next hiring manager, that next opportunity for you to move up will be determined by someone going on your LinkedIn, scrolling and seeing your bio, your profile picture, seeing your work experience, someone going on your Instagram and seeing, oh, you was at that Soka Fest. We don't know about this one. You was at Junkanoo, carrying on a little
Turned
too
up.
bad. Yeah, you was turning, yeah. Yeah, but if I told you that your next opportunity will be determined by your digital presence, you would take better care and make sure you curate that presence to reflect your best self. Same thing of where if it was in person, you get your hair cut, make sure your face is washed, makeup, everything is applied. Carry over that same mentality of in person to your digital presence.
Mm. So, what are some of the mistakes that you see happening out there? I heard a couple, but I want to hear from you first. So some of those things that you talked about are
Yeah.
pet peeves of mine. So, what are some of the mistakes?
The first biggest mistake is that most people don't put enough attention to their profile picture. You want,
Got it
yeah,
in
I know.
one.
I
That's
know, I
it.
know, I know. I know as an HR professional, I know you hate that so much.
Yes.
I know. Yep, definitely making sure that your profile picture is a respectable headshot. Doesn't have to be taken in the studio. Pick up your phone, and what I teach people is that you can go outside, make sure you have good lighting, nice, you're well shaved, haircuts, everything's on point. And just a quick tip from a videographer, you want your you want to have face, camera, and light source shining into your face. Because if you put your light source behind you, you create shadows, it's an unflattering image. What you want to do, face, camera, and light source shining into your face. This will help. This will help make sure all parts of your face are well lit. There's no Ladies, there's no shadows underneath the eyes. There's no raccoon effect. You have that perfect headshot. So that's my first tip. And then second mistake, I would say not clearly saying what you do. Now, this is more for
Mhm.
professionals, but every social media platform will have a bio. In your bio, you want to say who, who you help, what you do, and how you do it. So my LinkedIn page will say, I help business professionals and entrepreneurs tell their stories. And how I do that is by using videography, video production. So that's a simple strategy to do it. If you're not a professional, you can just say, I help businesses by being an accountant, and how I do it is by using QuickBooks. And you can clean it up. You can use an AI tool to help you with your wording, but that's the framework I'll normally give.
I like that. I like that. So, as a professional, then, what kinds of content that can professionals share to build credibility
Yeah.
that's authentic and genuine?
Yeah. So I gave a speech, Disrupt HR. My speech was tired of being seen. And in the speech, I said that when Lois Lane is in trouble, who does she call? Not Batman.
Superman.
Yeah, not Batman, not Spider-Man. She calls Superman's name. In that same light, you want to be the Superman of your industry, of your field. So you want anytime a certain person is experiencing a certain issue, they go to your content for help. So the content I
Like,
recommend is heavily help-based content. It's called the correct term is educational content, but simply content that helps. So as someone, I'm a videographer. That's my bread and butter. So I know that if for younger videographers, they'll say, "Well, what's the first camera that I buy? I only have $500." And I'll tell them, "Hey, don't think so much on the camera body. Think about your lenses. You want to be sure that you get a camera that way you can continue to add lenses and improve your cinematography as you age and progress as a videographer. Maybe something as an HR professional, a person may come to you and say, "Hey, I'm new to HR. What specialization of HR should I choose?" And you could say to them, "Well, do you want to do compensation? Do you want to, tell people I talk and help people? Like, where do you want?" And from there, you see that as you're helping, you're making yourself that Superman now. I'm not going to stop coming to you after you help me one time. After you help me once, I'm going to keep coming back to you. And as you find that as people keep coming to you for help, guess what's happening? You're more visible. You're starting to shine a little bit brighter. So that's how you slowly transform yourself into that industry professional, that industry superhero. And then the second version of content is simply behind the scenes content. If you're,
yeah,
I know some people get a little bit put off by this. I had to set up a camera. I have to fix the lighting. No, everyone in the world has a phone. It's as simple as if you're a baker, set your phone up and record yourself baking. Don't have to talk to the camera. Don't have to look at the camera. The camera's there doing its job. It's recording you. You do your job. And afterwards, from there, you can then take that content and post it. And as you continue the post, people are going to continue to associate you with baking. And then from there, once again, you're becoming visible as that baker. And it's the same thing throughout different industries.
That's some really good advice. I have to get into this behind the scenes stuff. I know I have a little mental block with that
Yeah.
and getting the tech set up and all of that kind of thing. So I have to just figure that part out. But how often should professionals engage online? Because this is another
Mhm.
big question, right? This
Mhm.
is now another thing to add to all the things that we're doing. I
Mhm.
really can't come up with content and post and all of that every single day. How often is enough?
Yeah. Well, I would like to say that in terms of engaging with these platforms, everyone here's screen time is definitely above 5 to 6 hours. Everyone travels with their phone. When you're not working, you're on your phone. When you're driving, unfortunately, people are on their phone. So it's something where we're always connected to these devices. I would say it's not so much a matter of time, it's a matter about how engaged are you with your platform. So are you leaving comments on the post that tie into your field? Are you answering questions or connecting with individuals who tie into your field? Are you just watching funny videos? You definitely want to make sure that when you engage with these platforms, you're doing it intentionally. But for to answer your question, how often is how often you need to get to your goal. Always comes back to your goal. If you're trying to become better known as a videographer in the Bahamas, that won't happen overnight. So if it starts with you doing 1 to 2 posts a week, that's perfectly fine. There's no one holding a weapon over your shoulder saying post more. It helps, it gets the algorithm to circulate more of your content. However, it's real. Life is life. Life happens. You have children, you have a job, you have other responsibilities. And if you can just post 3 videos a week, that's a great starting point. Now it's just a matter of determining, do you want to scale up from here? Do you want to remain at the same pace, or do you want to pull back a little bit just because of life's responsibilities? And I'll say to that, to add on to that, Simone, I think it's where most people get caught up in the vanity metrics, likes, comments. My engagement is low. I'll share a story about how I posted a video on my LinkedIn. I want to say about a year ago. I was just sharing a video I created for a client, and that's on my page for 2 years. 5 likes. Saw the video, got 5 likes, no comments, no one shared it. 5 likes. And it was at the start of this year, January, where someone saw that video. They were scrolling through my page. They saw that video, and from there, I was able to do content for the National Training Agency.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So the cool thing about the content that you share doesn't sleep. It is a 24/7 salesperson dedicated to helping you achieve your goal. So you may not get the 100,000 likes, 2,000 comments, but understand that if the one person who likes or sees that video is the person who's responsible for getting you that promotion, that new opportunity, mission accomplished. Your content is done what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Because, like you say, unless you pull it down, content is always there for people to see.
Yes.
So I want to use the remaining time here. Alexis put in a comment here that I would like for us to address. A
Okay.
comment and a question, a story and a question.
Okay.
And then if there are other questions or comments, we want to open the floor for people to share those before we give our closing comments and
Yes.
challenge, because now we have a visibility challenge. We
Yes.
need you all to put yourself out there. So Alexa says, here is me being visible. I presented an idea and it was accepted by my supervisor and agreed upon. However, after the influence from another member on the team, my supervisor denied agreeing to the idea. Do I just not make suggestions, considering that my supervisor will always be influenced by this other person? I honestly lost trust in that person's integrity.
Mm, wow. I'd start off by saying don't be discouraged. Is influence influence is not singular. Each person has different level of influence, and unfortunately you found yourself in that situation. But I wouldn't stop sharing ideas. I wouldn't stop doing exactly what you're supposed to do. Share opinions and share insight because this situation didn't go the way that you wanted it. It stopped with a colleague influencing a supervisor, but that's one situation. Now let's bring it to a different situation where once again you stand up and you say you share your opinion and you already have a good track record. Clearly your opinions are reaching the ear of your supervisor and they're taking note and they're noticing. Now that first one may have been discarded. However, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, you start to notice that your manager, your supervisor is saying, this is a lot of good ideas. And they implement one. The one that lands is the one that takes the company to the next level, makes them thousands of dollars, and then from there you just become more visible. But I don't want you to stop sharing or stop giving your opinion or feedback.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If I could add to that, and anyone else can chime in, we have some amazing professionals on this call. So feel free to chime in on this and let's rally around Alexis here. But in that case as well, here's another opportunity for speaking up, right? So if the supervisor originally agreed on the suggestion and then changed their mind or denied moving forward, did you have a follow-up conversation with the supervisor
Mm,
to find out why the idea was denied?
good stuff.
Why it was agreed to first and then you changed your mind, right? Maybe this other person, now I'm having scenarios here. Maybe it is the person doesn't like you. That's the first one, right? They just don't like you, or they don't like the fact that you may also have influence with the supervisor. You came up with an idea, they didn't. Supervisor accepted it. Now, so that you have jealousies and all those other things at play. That could be one thing. It could be that they shared the idea and maybe the person poked holes in some aspect of the implementation of it, right? Maybe it was a budgetary concern or a capacity concern or a technology concern, right? Sometimes when ideas are not accepted, there may be a viable reason why not.
Good
What
stuff.
this does is it strengthens your ability to pitch, right? Especially when you are pitching to your senior leaders
Hmm.
and they're looking at cost, they're looking at impact, they're looking at risk, right? Like, what is this going to cost us? What would be the fallout? Is anything going to happen to the company? Why should we do this? What's going to be the return on the investment? That's pretty much what executives care about. They don't care about the touchy feely. They don't care about how much better it's going to make everybody feel. And we all go skipping into the tulips, right? They don't really care about that stuff. And I had to learn that the hard way because I'm in the peopling side of the business. So
Mm,
I am here on a soapbox on a weekly basis talking about what people need and what's right and what's wrong. And they don't care about that stuff. Honestly, they really don't. You have to figure out what is it that your leaders care about.
hmm.
And then you have to present that information to them in the way that they understand it, the way that they want to receive it. I've had to learn to minimize what I say because I want to tell the story. Hey, good Toastmaster. I want to have
Yeah.
my introduction, my my
Body in
couple
conclusion.
paragraphs in the body
Yes.
and the conclusion and a quote to
Seal the
swallow it
deal.
down with, but they don't want to hear that. They want to hear
Mhm.
what's the bottom line? What is
Mhm.
the point? What are we doing? Well, take all the story out. Just give me the top level of what's happening here. So these are the lessons that we learn. And so, to Jonathan's point, don't let the rejections stop you from continuing to speak up. That
Indeed.
situation is data. That situation is telling you what you need to know about your colleague, what you need to know about your supervisor, and how you need to navigate in the future. How do you need to present your ideas again? How do I need to watch this dynamic between these two people? What's going on, right? What is it that is driving my supervisor? You know,
Indeed.
that's what you have to take from this scenario. And now you continue to build your toolkit and you're building your arsenal, you're building your strength, your stamina to get out there and to keep trying, to Jonathan's point. So awesome. She says, very valuable feedback. I love this. Awesome,
Good
awesome,
stuff.
awesome. That's good. Magdalene says, I hope I pronounced your name right as well. Forgive me if I didn't. I'm so glad I came. This invite on Simmone's page. I needed to hear this. I'm going through so I can relate with the story of dealing with older persons in the workplace, trying to put you in a corner and treat you like a child.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Jonathan, what do you say? You said you're 27 years old. You're
27 years
sitting
old.
there in
Yeah.
a suit and tie. 27 years old, holding down a position, having a company on the side.
Yeah.
What what do you say to someone like Magdalene who is dealing with people trying to minimize her voice at
You,
work?
I would say that you've done the work. You've went to college, you've gathered the skill set, you've done the work. The hard work is done. Now you've gotten to this position because people have seen your hard work, they've seen your credentials, they've seen your skill set. You've made yourself seen, so you have every reason to be here and you have every reason to speak up and to share your opinion. Age is no determining factor of anything. And that may be my inner Bahamian, my how I was raised. That's maybe a little bit rough to say, but because we're heavy on the respect of authority and seniority, but in a corporate professional setting, I met people who are 20 years old and they're sharp. They're always on point. And thanks to technology, thanks to the widespread of information, everyone is now on an even playing field. It's no longer where you have a 60-year-old person who, because they're 60, can outshine a 20-year-old. There are now cases where 20-year-olds are teaching the 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds in certain fields, certain industries, whether that be AI technology or any other field. So I definitely say to her that you are worth it. You have done your work, and now be proud of yourself and continue to give your opinions and be visible.
Mhm. Yeah, we can't let people diminish your value. As
Mhm.
Jonathan said, everybody brings value to the table.
Indeed.
It's not an age thing, and I think a lot of times people feel that because you are young, that you don't have the depth of experience, or you may not have a maturity to
Hmm.
what you are bringing to the table. But that's not the real value, is it? The
Yeah.
real value is what you are contributing from your perspective and from what you already know.
Hmm.
Something that you know is going to advance your environment, right? And it may not be the way a 40-year vet may do it, but bringing your expertise at your level, at your value, will change it. I learned so much from young people. And people look at me like, because I started my career as a teacher, and they're like, "Why do you still look the same? You still look the same like when I was in the seventh grade." I'm like, because I love being around young people, even to this day, and I want to hear what they have to say. I want to learn from them because they are on the cutting edge of things, and there are things that I can't do that they can show me how to do. I'm open to that. If we take people for who they are and what they bring to the table, we would benefit so much more than just
Indeed.
looking at these external things, age and
Indeed.
size and race and all these other gender and all these other things are these unnecessary divisions among us. We're humans. journeying on this road together, and we can all learn from each other. That's my standpoint on it.
Indeed.
Yeah. So what are
Awesome.
your closing thoughts? What would you challenge our audience here tonight?
Yes, I want to say that I spent a large portion of my younger life in America. I've met some of the most famous people in America. I've met industry leaders. I've met heavy hitters for every right in every field. And what I found was that it wasn't about intellect. It wasn't about work ethic. What it was about is that they had a mastery of visibility. And thanks to that, they were able to position themselves in those fields to receive that promotion, to receive those likes, to receive that credibility to get what they wanted. So being a Bahamian, well, we have I'll always say that Bahamians, we are very talented, but our shortcoming is that we are not visible. We are not visible enough as yet. And I
Mhm.
think that's not just a situation local to the Bahamas. I think that's a situation that can be applied to many countries. And once people understand how important your marketing, your PR, your visibility truly is, and if you can feed into that, if you can get comfortable with being the person, being the superhero, your Superman of your industry, you'll find that a lot more things will be going in your favor, a lot more opportunities. Instead of you trying to chase down different opportunities, you'll find it's where they start to naturally draw themselves towards you. It's almost like you become that magnet for opportunities. And I think that I would challenge everyone here in this Zoom call, anybody who will watch this content, would be to start putting yourself out, start becoming visible. Just take your phone, record. You don't have to talk to the phone. Record yourself doing whatever you specialize in and share with the world how they can help you. And then additionally with that, improve upon your ability to speak. I can't let this conversation now about talking about the importance of public speaking. Once you'll naturally become more of a leader once you gain that confidence and that ability to speak. It goes hand in hand. Once you start speaking up, you'll find yourself being thrown in positions to lead. I have to speak for on behalf of my company next week. I didn't want to. They say, Jay, if you don't do it, no one else is gonna do it. So once you develop that skill set of speaking, you'll see yourself start progressing levels and levels. So that'd be my challenge. Learn to become a better public speaker, join Toastmasters, learn to become a better public speaker, and then be willing to be visible. Use your skill set, use your technology to make yourself more visible. That'd be my challenge.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Cecile came and challenged us up from the side. She said, interesting that this session is about visibility and none of us have our cameras on.
There
There
you
you
go.
go. She put her
There you go.
camera on. Challenge accepted.
There you go.
She challenged herself. Alexis said, challenge accepted. I love it. I
Awesome.
love it. I have one
Awesome.
last challenge for you all in a poll. And so I want to see what your visibility action step is going to be this week, because we won't push it off to Monday. Give me more time to think about it. No, 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 no. What action can you do? We still have 2 more days. Well, actually, we have 4 more days left in this week.
Hmm.
So, what are we going to do? Are we going to speak up in a meeting? Are you going to update your LinkedIn profile? Are you going to post a professional insight online? Do you have to blow the dust off your LinkedIn profile? Like nothing is happening there? Crickets? Think about what Johnathan said tonight about being that superhero of your field. What some of you, as someone said in the first poll, that you weren't really sure what you want to be seen about. So maybe this is a good opportunity for you to get clarity now, to think about what do I want people to come to me about? What do I want to be seen or known or noticed for? Right? That clarity is very important because you want to be strategic when you're going out there. You don't want to go out there to just throw out content and people still don't have an idea of who you are or what you're about, right? So, are you going to ask a friend or a colleague about your leadership presence? Will you introduce yourself to someone at work? that you should connect with more. Maybe there's a senior leader or an executive or a colleague that you maybe need to make a connection with. I remember working with an executive. He used to love to have coffee meetings. He'd be like, meet me at Starbucks. And he would use those opportunities to either give feedback, to have, difficult conversations, to get insight, want to understand more about that person. He would do it all the time, right? Do you need to introduce yourself to someone? Reintroduce yourself, connect, reconnect. What do you need to do this week? Cecile, you raised your hands. Let's hear your voice tonight.
Yeah, I just want to say that this is a very important conversation you're having tonight. I think as leaders, we are very focused on getting the credentials in terms of our technical competence.
Mhm.
And that does drive our performance in the workplace. But what happens a lot is that we neglect the leader within.
Mm.
That's where the real growth has to happen for us. And it's not something that you just read about in books. It's something you have to practice. So when
Indeed.
Jonathan said start small, go to Starbucks and address the person by name, those are the small steps that make it very more comfortable to show up in a meaningful way. When you come to webinars such as this, where it is a safe space, it's a small audience, that's the time to turn off your turn on your camera. I mean, I changed my hairstyle today. I'm not too comfortable with it, but I'm here and I'm showing up, right?
Yeah.
I saw Latoya just
Ah,
turn on the
Latoya.
camera. Good for you. You know, if we're going to talk about visibility, we have to be comfortable showing up in these spaces and be authentic about it. We have to find our voice so it
Mhm.
can be heard. Going back to, I can't remember her name, who spoke about the experience she had with her supervisor. Um, it's important for us to understand, just as we have blind spots, our supervisors have blind spots. There are people too, and just a simple conversation can tend to level the playing field. And sometimes they're glad that you told them because they didn't see it that way themselves, you know?
Yeah.
So don't second guess who you are and what your purpose to do or the fact that you matter. These are all essential skills and competencies that as leaders we need to get under our belt. I worked with a lot of leaders at different levels of organizations, and that's why I came here this afternoon when I saw Simone's post, because I wanted to see what exactly, emerging leaders are really treating with in an environment like the Bahamas in particular. So thank you for this session, Simone. I think it was well worth the time.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank
Awesome.
you so much. And you all are going to see Cecile again. We are cooking something in the kitchen
Ooh.
and we are going to come up with something for you leaders who want to elevate and go to the next level, as we say. I'm really excited about what we will be cooking up for later in the year.
Stuff.
Yes, indeed. So I have a free resource for you. This is a leadership visibility guide. Hopefully, I typed in the right thing. That takes you, but otherwise, you could always go to my website, www.leadwithsimone with two M's.com, and look for the leadership visibility guide. And this is something to just a tool to help you on your visibility journey. Also, we have on the 2nd of July, we have an in-person session.
Hmm.
So again, this is getting comfortable with being visible, right? Getting out from behind the Zoom camera and into a room. And it's going to be a small, intimate group, but we have some great local professionals who will come on. Johnathan, I may need you to make a cameo appearance.
Let me know.
I'm going
Let
to
me know.
talk to you about this.
Okay.
He said, how come only females on this flyer? Oh boy. But we are going to be talking about how to communicate your value, how to extend yourself beyond your desk. So we have Candika Delaveau. A lot of people know her as Mommy Hustle. She's a
Ah,
communications specialist.
he's awesome.
She is a project management specialist. She has a radio show on Tuesday evenings on Guardian Talk Radio. So she, like Johnathan, is a communicator at heart and an excellent one. So she's going to be in the room. And we also have Keishala Knowles, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. She told me how to do it. Say it how her mom says it. I'm trying to remember. But she is the Group Vice President of Human Resources at Cable Bahamas.
Nice.
And we are going to be getting her HR perspective on how to communicate your value. What do we look for in the organization? That's we're going to be led by, moderated by Elizabeth Longley. She is a human resource consultant. She specializes in change management, particularly, and she will be leading that conversation with us. And so we are going to be in the room, and I think we need Johnathan in the room to help us, with this digital presence. So we need creative growth in the space. I can reach out to you. But that is on July 2nd at Oasis Bar and Bistro on East Bay Street, and you can also reach out for more information. I will put my email, or you can reach out on um, WhatsApp if you have my contact. Feel free to reach out for more information, or you can follow our channel, our WhatsApp channel. It's Limitless Leadership on the Go or something of that sort. I can't remember now. It's too many groups, too many channels and things going on. But it's a free channel that you can join on WhatsApp where I send in a lot of my posts and in tips and events and devotions and all sorts of things go through on that channel, so you can connect with us there. So, anything else, Johnathan? Do you want to share anything before we depart for the night?
No, I just want to reemphasize the challenge to everybody that visibility is a leadership skill. Being seen is important as a professional, as a person. Once you're able to make yourself visible, like I said, you'll see more opportunities start to draw themselves towards you. So that'd be my only challenge to everyone tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you for joining. Thank you for participating, for being in the room. Thank you, Rianne. Do not second guess who you are. That's it. My mantra is the most powerful seat in the room is the one you are in. Don't ever forget who you are. You bring value to every space that you show up in. Well, don't ever forget that, and don't let anyone intimidate you to the point where you cannot shine your light bright. If it's too bright for them, what to do? Tell them get some sunglasses, cover their eyes up, because this is the level of my shine right here. Okay. But thank you so much for joining us on this hump day. And if you would like to get the recording, you can reach out as well, and we would be more than happy to share the recording. But we do send it up to my YouTube channel on YouTube. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.